Nestled along the meandering curves of the mighty Mississippi River, New Orleans is a city where the vibrant pulse of life meets the whisper of history. Known for its lively jazz music, colorful Mardi Gras celebrations, and eclectic cuisine, the city exudes an aura of enchantment and mystery. From the haunting beauty of its French Quarter to the shadowy allure of its historic cemeteries, New Orleans is a place where the past and present intermingle in a dance of magic and wonder, captivating all who wander through its storied streets. In this journey, we will delve into one of New Orleans' most chilling and enigmatic tales, the story of the Axeman of New Orleans. This notorious figure cast a shadow of fear over the city in the early 20th century, his identity shrouded in mystery and his motives cloaked in speculation. We'll explore the gruesome series of crimes attributed to the Axeman, examining the possible supernatural connections that some believe link him to the occult fabric of the city. Through the lens of history and legend, we will unravel the legacy of the Axeman, a figure whose terror still echoes in the folklore of New Orleans.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Deceptive Reality Podcast. My name is Nick. Nick, who always nails the titles. And with me, as always, is the stalwart Bert.
Star Wars Bert.
Dependable.
Am I Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Stalwart. You could be. Say hello there.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
What's up, everybody?
That is like the worst Star Wars impressions that ever existed.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to get raked over the coals for that.
I can tell you this much right now. Enjoy Star Wars. I would not put it in my top 10.
Me neither.
Sorry. Star Wars people.
I'm not sorry.
Texas John, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Yeah. Not top 10. But I mean, listen, if it's on TV, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's good. It's
definitely
good. We
good.
just have other preferences is all.
Other preferences. Star Wars, not one of them. I don't want to know about little spaceships and Darth Vaders and red lights. I would take a lightsaber. If I had a lightsaber, I'd take it.
I've thought about this before, and if I were like a Jedi, I'd be one that uses the Force more and not the lightsaber, because I can see cutting myself badly.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Which kind of happened in The Mandalorian. He cut his leg with his own lightsaber.
Yeah, that's a problem. I always look at that kind of like Barney Fife when he shot himself in the foot. Kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Except these cut through anything like butter.
Yeah, it could happen to anybody. That's how we're looking at that.
Yeah. What if you open it on the wrong end?
Exactly. Listen, tragedy.
Yeah.
You called me what?
Yeah,
What'd you call me?
Stalwart.
Stalwart.
Yep. Stalwart. It's like dependable, reliable.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, hey. That hasn't shown
Never
in this
failing.
week. By gosh, I think I canceled like 3 times.
It happens. That's life. That's life.
Listen.
Plus, we just got done a terrible curse. So
yeah. Good night. I'm done with cursed episodes. If we could just have some non-cursed episodes, I'd be real happy about that.
Well, that's what we're aiming for tonight. Although the subject tonight might be a curse on other people, it won't be a curse on us.
Oh, perfect. That's all I could ask for. No curses on us.
Yeah.
A-okay. Yeah. So he did do all the work, boys and girls. For anyone that's curious out there in podcast land, Nick has done all the heavy lifting today.
That's right.
Oh, Bert.
So if it sucks, sorry, but
Bert
that's how it is.
Had no heavy lifting on this one, which is the way Bert loves these days. These are my favorites, especially after this week. Listen, for anyone that doesn't know, and we're going to be bringing this person over to this podcast probably within the next couple weeks, maybe. I did a podcast on Joe from Lindley Street, and everyone loved it on my podcast. So we're going to be interviewing him on this one. What a
story.
Great story. Such a good story. And that podcast came out so good too, with all the problems we had. And for anyone that doesn't know, Nick and I actually sat with this guy for 2 hours and some change. And the audio was so bad, I can't We can't use any of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so bad.
But let me tell you that I was on the edge of my seat because Joe is a storyteller like extraordinaire.
He really
like
is.
he takes you there when he tells the stories.
He does. I can tell you that in my podcast, there was some emotional moments where the guy gets choked up telling the story. And then I, in return, when I was recording my part, started to get choked up. So I was trying to, both he and I can't cry on the podcast at the same time. So, so I'm like,
well, you got to take turns or mute yourself or something.
Exactly. So, yeah. So we're going to be bringing him to this podcast. Probably will be in about a week or so. And what we're going to do is we're going to play my podcast split into sections, similar to kind of like narration for us. And then we'll have Joe here, and then we'll be able to interview him on each section. And I'm sure we'll be diving into some different things. We won't have Joe's video. We're going to have a call in for Joe on that one. So, but super excited about that.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. Plus, anyone who can see the video can see the fancy gadget that Bert's got next to him. So we're going to give that a whirl with Joe.
We're going to test this bad boy. We're going to see. It's supposedly to do call-ins. We're about to find out.
Oh yeah. It's got more lights and buttons than the night sky. So this thing's got to be fancy.
It better be. That's all I can say. It better.
Yeah. I have faith.
I'm keeping faith alive.
Yeah. But, do you have any idea what we're going to talk about tonight?
I don't actually.
I gave you one clue.
I don't. You gave me one clue, but that is such a wide range of what it could be.
Right.
Good luck. Good luck trying to get me to figure that one out.
Yeah. All I told Bert was that I'm going to take a little risk and move into true crime tonight because we haven't done one. Actually, we've done one a little while ago. But they're particularly challenging because we have to tone it down for the YouTube machines. And, there was some stuff I had to word wiggle in this to make it acceptable.
Word wiggling 101.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may have, and this is like that Aliens guy, George Soulakis, it may have some supernatural elements.
Oh, supernatural elements. We like those.
It may. But you ready to find out what we're talking about?
I'm absolutely ready. Let's go.
New Orleans, a city where the scent of magnolias mingles with the echoes of jazz, is as enigmatic as it is vibrant. Its streets, steeped in history and shadowed by tales of the supernatural, weave a rich tapestry of magic and mystery. From the haunting beauty of its centuries-old architecture to the whispered legends of voodoo and ghostly apparitions, New Orleans captivates the imagination and beckons the curious to uncover its secrets. On May 23, 1918, as the humid air clung to the city, Chief of Police Frank Mooney felt the weight of growing dread among the citizens. In his dimly lit office, he called upon Detective John D'Antonio and Detective John J. Collins, two of his most trusted men. "We have a terror stalking our streets," Mooney said, his voice heavy with concern. "I need you both on this. We must catch this madman before he strikes again." With furrowed brows and determined hearts, the detectives took on the grim task, unaware of the horrors that lay ahead. As D'Antonio and Collins left the police station, the gas lamps flickered in the evening gloom, casting long shadows on the cobblestone streets. Little did they know, they were stepping into the annals of history, embarking on an investigation that would plunge them into one of the most chilling and mysterious serial killer cases in American history, the reign of terror by the New Orleans Axeman.
All right, so have you ever heard of the New Orleans Axeman?
See, there's so many Axemen, Nick. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. This is the big daddy of Axemen.
I used to watch a TV show called Axeman.
Oh, okay. But was that about a guitarist or a musician?
It definitely was not. It's about lumberjacks.
Oh,
Completely different show.
Travis Walton in them, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
No.
There used to be his on the Discovery Channel. It's called Axemen. And it was these lumberjacks.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a little mini drama because all the different little axe people would like get mad at each other, like all the companies that was going in. And you know what? I need to go back and watch some of those episodes. I miss that show.
Man, a lot of people getting angry with axes is not a good combination, I wouldn't say.
Most of them had chainsaws, so it was even worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is worse.
Yeah.
For speaking of this guy, though, you may have heard of him, you may not have, but have you ever watched the show American Horror Story?
No. I know of it, but I've never watched it.
Well, there's one season that takes place in New Orleans, and it's the one called Coven, where it's a bunch of witches.
Ooh.
And they sort of have like a fictionalized tale of the Axeman. And that's where I really caught on to this. And I said, is this a real thing? And I started doing research into the background of it. And this was years ago. And I've been fascinated ever since. But I thought there was not really any additional supernatural parts to it until I really deep dove recently. And that's what made me decide to present this one to you tonight.
You're like, man, we need to talk about some Axemans. There was there's a haunting, the Valeska Axe House, I think is.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's a big one because it's haunted supposedly. Because of that.
What's the story behind that? Is it just an axe murderer that went wild, or?
Well, there's theories. It would be a lot like this with, like a true crime kind of category. Yeah. The problem is it's so horrific, right, that I'm not sure how I would, I've wanted to even do it on my channel, but the problem is it brings kids into it. And that'd be a hard no for me. That's a tough one for me. Yeah. That's why I didn't even bring it to my channel.
In terms of censoring it, you can probably model it after this one, because let me tell you that what we're going to talk about, it was way worse. Like I changed the description of each and every crime scene.
Yeah.
Just so we could talk about this. And it still gets the point across.
Well, it gets tough. Whenever you do true crime, it always gets tougher.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. It's like, why don't you do more of that? It's because it's so complicated. All these podcast people, they want it clean. They want as clean as you get, which I don't understand how true crime channels get away with it.
I think they just go in on it. They don't care.
I think they do, because I've listened to some and I'm like, I need to turn this off and start getting queasy myself just listening to it.
Oh, it could be. Like we've done the collar bomb one.
Yeah.
Which was a banger episode. Really love that.
Literally.
I know. I think I've accidentally used that joke like 3 times now. Accidental each time. And the first one we ever did was it was kind of a true crime one.
Yeah.
The very first one we ever did. And that was jazzy, wasn't it? Or was it blues?
Robert Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was into jazz, wasn't he?
He was. He was a jazz guitarist. And though it was kind of true crime, is like that mixture of folklore of the devil selling your soul and then how did he die? So it's kind of true crime-ish.
Yeah. This is mostly true crime. It's got some of the same elements as that. I'll tell you, don't turn your back on a jazz guy. Because it seems like they're into a lot of crazy stuff. Robert Johnson and
Robert Johnson.
Actually, I'm kind of getting ahead of us. New Orleans is like home of jazz, but we haven't really covered why that's relevant to this yet.
We have not.
But that's not for a while yet.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the stage we've set now is we've got 2 detectives, 2 of the top detectives. In fact, one of them's D'Antonio is the detective, and his immediate supervisor is working the case with him.
Oh, I thought you was talking about us for a minute.
So it's Oh, well, it could be us.
Yeah.
It could be us.
I like it better.
But we would do better. It's us,
Yes.
is what it is.
We're two detectives.
So, yeah, and we're hopped in a car, and our boss has told us that people are getting scared.
Uh-oh.
And we're going under the flickering gaslight to see what's going down because we don't know what's happening yet.
We have no clue. That's
No.
scary.
So why don't we get in the car and drive off to the first scene?
Let's go.
Detective John D'Antonio and Detective John J. Collins arrived at the residence of Joseph and Catherine Maggio on the sultry evening of May 23, 1918, greeted by a gruesome sight that would haunt their memories for years to come.
My God, I've never seen anything like this.
D'Antonio exclaimed as he entered the apartment. The couple's modest apartment, usually filled with the warmth of their family life, had been transformed into a scene of unspeakable horror. Red spattered the walls and soaked the bed where the Maggios lay, their lifeless bodies bearing the brutal signature of the Axeman. The silence in the room was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the city unaware of the nightmare that had just unfolded. Joseph and Catherine Maggio had been savagely attacked while they slept. Joseph's was slashed with such force that he was nearly decapitated, while Catherine had suffered multiple deep gashes to her neck. The criminal had used a straight razor, later found bloodied and abandoned in the couple's bathtub. A heavy axe, used to fracture their skulls post-mortem, lay discarded on the floor. Both items, an important detail in future crimes, belonged to the victims. The criminal brought nothing with him.
How did he even get in? The doors were all locked, and the guys didn't find any sign of forced entry.
Collins mused. The crime scene revealed eerie details. A panel on the back door had been chiseled out, allowing the intruder to slip inside silently. It hadn't been noticed at first as the hole was too small for a typical human by order of magnitudes. Despite the brutality, there were no signs of robbery. Valuables remained untouched. The sheer violence and the precision of the attacks suggested a criminal driven by more than just a thirst for mayhem. Perhaps a ritualistic compulsion or a desire to spread terror. This macabre discovery was merely the beginning of a reign of terror that would grip New Orleans. As D'Antonio and Collins departed the Maggio residence, they could not have known that this was the start of a series of heinous crimes that would puzzle and terrify the city. The Axeman's spree was just beginning, setting the stage for a cat-and-mouse game that would challenge the detective's skills and sanity, leaving a horrible mark on the history of American crime.
While I'm listening to this,
So,
I feel
pretty
like
gruesome.
I feel like I know this, but I don't know.
You feel that way because remember, this is us. You're
Oh, you're right.
D'Antonio.
You're right.
I'm Collins, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is like the worst we've ever seen. This is
by far
horrifying.
the worst we've ever seen. Guy's a doggone axe murderer.
Like, yeah, like we're a couple New Orleans fellas, and we see a lot of fights, and eventually, sometimes people unalive each other, and that's just random acts of violence and stuff. People are drunk here; they're throwing beads all over the place. But this guy, he didn't take any of the money out of the wallets. He didn't steal anything. One important fact, if you look over there, he used the axe on him post-mortem, so after they had already passed away.
He's gone.
And he got the axe and he just went to town. Whackity whackity whack. Like, this guy is a nut.
I mean,
But there's a couple other things too. Like, what else did you notice at the scene, detective?
there was a razor blade. Straight
Right.
razor.
And where did that come from?
I know where it went.
The bathtub.
It's the bathtub.
Right. But that belonged to them. He didn't bring it with him.
Oh, I thought you meant where in the house did it come from. I don't know where in the house where it came from.
Oh. Yeah, he didn't bring anything with him. The axe is theirs too.
I feel like I know this case.
You may. There's a lot more coming up. But I just want to draw your attention to a couple other things that are weird too. So there's been people before we got to the scene. There's been people all over this scene investigating everything. They've checked for signs of forced entry. Nothing. No one can figure out how they get in the house. And when we get there, we're looking around and we see that he's chiseled out a panel on the door, but it's not big enough for people to get through, and it's not close enough to the doorknob for him to unlock it. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, that is.
But somehow that allowed him access to the house.
Somehow.
Yeah. I can't think of any way.
I mean, if he was
like
using
maybe
it
he
as
had
like
a long wire that he fed up there or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm thinking, because you got to remember the year this happened. We're talking
Right.
early 1900s.
Yes.
Doors are significantly different than they are now. So what I'm thinking is, if he would have chiseled that little spot to add enough gap,
Right.
and in that gap, if he could have used that as like a pry to push the wood framing a little differently, like I'm assuming it wouldn't have been as intact as what it is nowadays.
Yeah. I don't know if you could push yourself through like that and it would go back to its original shape.
Well,
Like,
I was
feel that
thinking
would
just to
splinter
open the
if you were
door.
able to do that. Right.
That's the only thing that
So-
would make sense.
Yeah. Well, it puzzled everyone else too. They didn't even see the chiseled part. That's how small it was until we got on the scene.
Oh,
We
it-
discovered that.
Oh, it wasn't even big enough for people to notice that. Do you have
No,
pictures of this?
Like, we just noticed it. I don't have pictures of this.
For our file case? You mean you took us all the way there and you didn't get pictures of this thing, Nick?
Well, you're the cameraman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Where's the pictures?
Don't
Where's
worry
the
about
pictures,
it.
dude?
This is fine. It's fine.
That would be interesting to try to dig up that, though.
That would be
We'll have
really
to check
nice.
our case files when we get back to the precinct. That's
Yeah.
what we'll do a little later.
And the only reason why I say that is, you know what's interesting is that Valeska house.
Valeska, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They believe that they also used an axe from the property.
Isn't that weird?
Also, Lizzie Borden, they believe, used the axe from the property.
Well, she lived there, though, didn't she?
Now, Nick, she's found innocent.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
Wow. That's toxic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're a higher quality cop than those guys were.
Yeah, you're
so-
right. You're right.
Yeah. So, but you know what? So far, I don't think we've got enough information to make judgment on, but I'll bring your mind to one last thing is whatever he did with the door was quiet enough that those two, not very far away, because this was like an apartment building, really. It was sort of like above a store or whatever. A lot of these were. Whatever he did to the door, it didn't cause enough noise for either of them to wake up. They were both found in their bed. He had struck while they were asleep. Didn't even have defensive wounds.
Neither one of them
So,
did.
Neither one of them did.
I don't ever understand that. Because if you hit one, that's going to be so loud. I would assume the
Right.
second one would acknowledge it.
I think he started with the straight razor, is what I think.
I
Because
gotcha.
remember, all the axe work was
Postmortem.
after they'd already passed.
Postmortem.
Which is really weird because that's like super violent
Yeah.
to go to that trouble. And he was in no hurry to get out of there.
Yeah.
So very bizarre, and not a thing stolen. You know, wallet and purses laying there, nothing like that. No property. You know, we talked to a bunch of people at the scene. No one could even imagine that they had any trouble with anyone. Like, not even particularly wealthy, not a regular target, not political figures, just a couple.
That's very weird. A lot of these cases like this in the old days, I think, were just drifters.
Right. That's kind of a lot of what they were thinking too. But you know what? Maybe it was a drifter. Let's hope this is the one-off case. Let's go back to the police station and see what's, kind of hope that this dies down and we never hear about this again.
During the early morning hours of June 27, 1918, Louis Bessumer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were attacked in private quarters at the back of Bessumer's grocery, located at the corner of Dorgenois and La Harpe streets. Bessumer was struck with an axe above his right temple, which resulted in a possible skull fracture. Lowe was hit repeatedly to one side of her face, leaving it permanently paralyzed. The couple were only discovered the following morning, somehow barely alive, by bakery wagon driver John Zanka. The axe, once again had belonged to the victim himself, was found in an adjacent bathroom. The killer brings nothing with him, and there are no signs of entry at all this time. Bessumer stated to investigators that he had been sleeping when he was attacked with the hatchet. By the time Detective D'Antonio and Detective Collins arrived on the scene, the police had already arrested one Louis Ubicon, a 41-year-old African-American man who had been employed in the grocery just a week before the attack.
Who's this? What's going on here?
D'Antonio asked.
We've got the guy right here, open and shut case.
What have you got on him? He's got no connection to the other scene at all, fellas.
Collins asked, surprised.
Look, guys, Chief Mooney's got the mayor on his case, pressure's on to close this, and this guy looks good to me.
The officer shot back. No evidence existed which could have proved Ubicon guilty, yet police arrested him nonetheless, stating that he had offered conflicting accounts of his whereabouts on the morning of the attack. Ubicon was later released, however, as police were unable to gather sufficient evidence to hold him. Robbery was said to be the only possible explanation for the attacks, yet no money or valuables were removed from the scene. Lowe became the center of a media circus as she continually made scandalous and often false statements relating to both the attacks and the character of Bessumer. After Bessumer fell under suspicion of espionage following the discovery of foreign written letters in his possession, Lowe told police that she thought he was a German spy, resulting in his immediate arrest. He was released 2 days later. In August 1918, Bessumer was arrested again after Lowe, by then on her deathbed following failed surgery, named him as her assailant. Bessumer was charged with murder and served 9 months in prison before being acquitted on May 1, 1919, after a 10-minute jury deliberation. Lowe told many tales about her attacker, resulting in a number of false arrests beyond just her lover Bessumer.
There's a whole bunch going on here.
I don't know why. Oh yeah, this sure is. And I don't know why they keep pronouncing our names wrong in this.
I know. It's very difficult to follow when they screw up my name.
That's right. That's right. So what did you notice from this one? I was hoping this was over, but this seems to be a related case.
Here's what I find interesting right from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Old boys with mistress behind the spot.
All right.
Again, using their axe. They hit him in the temple, and she just stands there to take her whack?
Yeah, see, this one's a little more odd because both of them initially survived.
Yeah.
And she come to after he got whacked. He was, I guess her injuries were more permanent, but his were more severe initially. Like he was unconscious and probably not long for this world if he wasn't found by the grocer that had come up. But yeah, so she did wake up and she accused a lot of people.
Yeah.
Of this. Like she was accusing all kinds of people about this. but there was always reasons why they couldn't have done it. So people were kind of scratching their heads. They're like, she saw the attacker. How can why? What is her motive for choosing all these different people that look radically different and accusing them, and then finally accusing her lover, who definitely was unconscious before she was?
Well, that's the easy part, Nick.
Right. Jealousy or anger or something.
No, she got hit in the head with an axe. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, you're not going to think right after you've been smacked in the head with an axe.
Yeah. Well, she was doing a lot of messing around too. Like, she shouldn't have been there at all.
Yep. You know what it is? When they're like, who did this? She's like, we're going to give a few names here of a couple people that did me wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, that bill collector?
I
think he did it.
Oh, yeah. Really? Do you remember I can't remember her name, but she was like a female serial killer who killed all these guys, but she always had some reason why she did it. Like, she was a prostitute and they always kept attacking her.
I thought you was talking about Marjorie there for a minute.
Large Marge?
From the collard bomb murder. She had all them boyfriends that kept miraculously dying.
No, these weren't boyfriends. There was a movie based off of it with, was it Cameron Diaz, or it was called Monster, was what the movie was called.
Never saw it.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's kind of like that. She like killed all kinds of people and she just started making up random excuses for it. But I think maybe you're on the right track, that she was like, oh, I don't like this guy, and this guy. Let's see if we can get any of these guys arrested.
Right. Remember when you come to collect that debt? Well, looks like you tried to kill me. We'll be able to pay that next week.
That's right.
Oh, man. That's savage.
So, yeah, that's something to keep in mind, though, in case there's other parts of the story, because maybe it wasn't entirely ill-intentioned. Maybe she really thought she saw these different people and that things didn't go down the way that she thought they did. It might not have been.
Or she was hit in the head with an axe.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
But
just saying.
I'm just saying. Keep that in mind. It might become important later on.
Okay.
But in any which way, even though obviously it wasn't Basumer, he went to jail for 9 months for that. And when he finally got in front of the jury, it only took him 10 minutes to be like, no,
wasn't
he couldn't do it.
Wasn't me, folks. Sorry.
And that first guy who got arrested, which was probably a big case of racism, they didn't even hold him more than a few days.
Yeah. They're like, well, I can't pin nothing on him.
Well, that's right.
If the axe don't fit, you gotta quit. Out.
That's right. That's right. That should be a slogan on the picture, the opening picture of this.
Should. The axe don't fit, you got to still quit.
Yeah. That's right. So once again, we've got the axe was just picked up at the house. No signs. We couldn't even find a way that they got in this time. Everything's all locked up. And let me tell you, this part of town, they don't leave the doors unlocked.
I thought they was in the back alley. Did I misunderstand?
No. So there's a back entrance that goes above Basumer's grocery store.
Yeah.
And he has like a little apartment above that.
Yeah.
But it's the back entrance. They were inside.
Oh, I got you. Okay. I thought when they said that, they meant they was outside that establishment.
Oh, no. They were upstairs. Where you probably got that from is the delivery guy would make deliveries out back.
Oh.
And he went up the stairs because he couldn't find anyone. And that's when he discovered that.
I got you now. Okay.
So, yeah. So we got no idea how they got in there. And like I said, this isn't a town in those days where you just leave your doors unlocked, especially since people have already heard about the first case, which unfortunately we've not been able to solve yet.
Freaking experter out there. You gotta lock your doors.
Right? Hopefully it doesn't get out, because we do not need people panicking.
We don't need people panicking. Wasn't there
we don't want that.
Wasn't there a murderer? Also a story of a murderer where he put something in the newspaper saying that there had to be opera music or something playing in the city. If anyone who did not have opera music playing, he was going to kill him with an axe or something.
Very close, but let's not talk about that right now.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, my goodness. Detective Burt just had a headache and he had a vision. It's weird. It could probably be 80% accurate if I had to guess.
You know what my favorite part of this is? You know what my favorite part of this is? People always think that we send each other the file. I literally got this file right before we started, and then I didn't even have it uploaded in this thing until right when we sat down together.
Yeah, exactly. We never know, except for one time we knew.
Yeah, one time. Technically with Joe, we knew.
All right.
So technically 2 times.
No, 2 times. 2 times.
Yeah.
Because the other time was the Watcher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2
that
total
was a weird
times.
coincidence. Yeah. But that vision that you just had, Detective, let's just remember that, but we won't go into it right now.
Okay.
It's like, I'm a believer, so I believe that you just got a vision and it's probably 80% right.
Hey, that's perfect. I like that.
Yeah. But you know what? The skeptic in me says, I hope this dies down. This is the last case. We're not going to have to deal with this again.
Oh, that's good. We like
Let's go back. Yeah. Let's go back to the precinct. We'll deal with the paperwork we've got already. Hopefully we'll never hear about this guy again.
We never will. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Let's go back.
During the early morning hours of August 5th, 1918, 28-year-old Anna Schneider, 8 months pregnant, awoke to a horrifying sight. A dark figure standing over her. Before she could react, she was savagely attacked repeatedly, leaving her scalp split injured and her face bruised and bloodied. Her husband, Ed Schneider, discovered her bloodied and unconscious after midnight upon returning late from work. Despite the brutality of the attack, Anna remembered nothing when she awoke, and remarkably, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 days later. Ed reported to the police that nothing had been stolen, and Detective D'Antonio and Collins, now on the lookout, again found no signs of forced entry. A axe lay ominously at the crime scene. Detectives John D'Antonio and John J. Collins, delving deep into the investigation, found themselves drawing chilling connections between this attack and the earlier brutalities inflicted upon the Basumer and Maggio households. On August 10, 1918, the city was gripped by another nightmarish episode. Pauline and Mary Bruno awoke to disturbing sounds coming from their elderly uncle Joseph Romano's room. Rushing in, they found Romano grievously wounded, his head bearing 2 deep gashes. They glimpsed the assailant fleeing, a dark-skinned, heavy-set man in a dark suit and slouched hat. Despite his injuries, Romano managed to walk to the ambulance but succumbed to his wounds 2 days later. His home had been ransacked, yet no items were missing. Investigators found a bloody axe in the backyard and a chiseled panel on the back door, echoing the MO of the previous attacks. The detectives meticulously pieced together these elements, publicly speculating a connection between these gruesome assaults, further fueling the city's growing hysteria. The murder of Joseph Romano escalated the city's fear to a fever pitch, plunging New Orleans into chaos. Reports flooded the police stations as residents claimed to have seen the Axeman lurking in their neighborhoods, with several men even discovering axes mysteriously placed in their backyards. As D'Antonio and Collins continued their relentless investigation, the realization dawned on them that they were hunting one of the most mysterious and fearsome serial killers in American history, the New Orleans Axeman. D'Antonio went on record and described the criminal as
an individual of dual personalities who killed without motive. This type of individual could very likely have been a normal, law-abiding citizen who was often overcome by an overwhelming desire to kill. He is a real-life Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Okay. So after this one of us, I don't remember who it was, leaked to the press that we think we got a serial killer on our hands.
Oh,
And people started to lose it. It wasn't me. Did you say anything?
wasn't me.
Well, someone told.
I forgot to take the picture.
And-
I can't screw up twice.
Okay, you know what? I might have mentioned it to
Yeah.
my wife.
Oh, yeah. And she tells
she,
everybody.
She runs the newspaper.
She
Runs the newspaper. Yeah. I shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have done
My
that.
bad. But yeah, so this is going to get way worse for us because people are freaking out now. They're finding axes all over the place. It's not good. But that was you that they interviewed afterwards, and you thought they're a Jekyll and Hyde. Like, they probably are perfectly normal most of the time.
I mean, probably.
But
Probably so.
yeah. So since I'm the senior detective, I'm going to keep doing this to you. I want you to tell me what you've noticed about this scene.
Well, there was more than one scene in this one.
Yep, there was a couple scenes. It's
There's a
getting
couple
bad.
scenes.
Yeah.
Firstly, he doesn't care if you're pregnant or not.
Nope. How that one turned out was depending on whether we were going to do this episode or not, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to have determining factors.
Yeah.
Did she just have a random axe sitting around too? Why is pregnant women carrying axes back then? What is wrong with them?
I assume everyone must have had one for firewood, but this guy is like, how is he going to know where they're keeping them? He must be searching all around the houses. Like, he's taking his time.
He definitely is. He knows what's going on.
Yeah. Now she didn't offer us much information. She didn't see anything. But in the second case, there's some real bizarre stuff because we got the chiseled out panel again.
Yes.
And the chiseled out panel, this time we know roughly what size it is. It's about the size that a cat could fit through.
Yeah. And it was an
Now,
uncle.
do you remember how they described the man leaving? Yeah, it was the uncle getting attacked.
Yeah. He got freaking slaughtered. Poor guy.
Yeah. Now, before this case, some people were theorizing that the killer was coming in and looking for women and just happening to attack men who happened to be there. But this time, he skipped over the man and his wife and went to the uncle instead. So that sort of blew that theory out of the water. Still nothing stolen. But this time, they got a good look at the guy who fit through the cat-sized hole in the door.
You know what the sad part is before we jump that part? Now, I'm not saying someone would do this.
Right.
You got an uncle that's giving you a tough time.
Right.
There is an axe murderer running around. It's using everyone's axes at their residence.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, you bring up a good point. You bring up a really good point because I think we had theorized when we were in the cop car that people were tossing axes into their neighbors' yards when they didn't like them just to give them a little scare.
Yeah, just a little something extra, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, it would be a good opportunity to take care of someone if you had to.
Prime opportunity.
But while the case is getting out, we haven't given out the details of how they're getting in and the little chiseled away panel and stuff like that.
We've not.
So we can easily spot the real cases from the fake cases. Also, the killer never leaves the axe outside. He always leaves it in the house, usually in the bathroom.
Well, he's got to wash his hands. As one
That's
does.
right. I mean, you don't want to be sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to be sticky. That's gross.
Got to think like an axe murderer.
You'll
Nick.
get diseases. That's right. So we got to wash our hands after we do crimes.
Correct.
Got to pay attention. Yeah. So what else did you notice? Anything else you picked up that maybe I didn't pick up?
No, I think that's the bulk of everything I picked up.
Okay. Well, let's talk about who they saw this time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall how they described him?
I don't remember.
So it was a great big, dark complected guy with a hat and a coat who leapt through the locked window and escaped like some kind of supervillain.
Yeah.
When they came in the room. Now, how did he fit through a cat-sized hole in the door?
He did. Oh, I've already figured this out, Nick.
Yeah.
Guy has a cat.
And it unlocks the doors for him?
Yep. You can train one. You can train one to do that.
Oh. What? You know, actually, that's kind of plausible. I think it's not the most likely story, but I saw a cat one time that can use the bathroom and flush the toilet for itself.
And you're thinking it's difficult for them to learn how to unlock a door after watching that.
Yeah. Yeah, because definitely the toilet thing's much more difficult. So is this your official opinion?
Yeah, 100%. This is 100% it. 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Like I wouldn't even say 99.
It could be.
Wouldn't even say 99. Or
oh wow.
Or this guy has really long arms. I'm going to 99 want it. 99 cat, 1% chance he has really long arms because he is hawkish.
Really long arms.
Yep.
Yeah, it could be.
99 and 1. That's what I'm going on this.
Well, I guess between those two, the cat is more plausible.
That's why I put it at 99.
Because, right. But anyway, this guy is pretty amazing because he just hulked it out through the, like, just imagine you're out on the street and you see the smash. This guy flies down from the second floor, lands on the pavement, gets up, runs off into the night.
What floor was this on?
Second floor. Second story. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So he's a bad boy.
Change what I say now.
Okay.
Yep.
You going all long arms now, or
nope? Vampire man from our vampire episode.
Vampire. Ah,
because he he's
picking out the door.
Yeah, he's picking at the door like he was the lead in the window, and he jumped from the roof that time and started running.
Yeah,
you said there was a supernatural spin to this.
Yeah, there is a supernatural spin to it.
Yep.
Now, so we've got two people who have seen this guy,
supposedly.
And one couple. Yeah, one couple backs each other up. So we've got a really giant, very tough athletic guy who can fit through cat holes and can leap from second stories and not really bother himself. So we've got two people backing each other up on that. We've got one lady who can't tell if it was among 5 people, but like you said, she was hit repeatedly in the head.
Hell with an axe, man. I don't know what you expect from her.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And on her deathbed, she was still accusing people. So it was she was either cracked or there's something about this that makes it hard to identify this guy.
Yes.
Now I'd really hate to say this, but I don't think we're gonna shake off this case. It seems like we're stuck with this now.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, like I was kind of hoping this would be like, it was your drifter idea and they just took off and we're not gonna have to deal with it.
We have to accept this, Nick. This is now our responsibility.
Yeah. It's our responsibility and we've got to do our best to solve it.
Yep.
So is there anything else you want to point out about this scene, or should we go and see if anyone else has seen anything?
We don't even have to listen to the rest. It's a vampire guy from whatever episode that was. I already figured this out, Nick.
Okay.
We can go get coffee and donuts.
You said we got to do our best. So we got to do our due diligence. So maybe we got to find out where he is or something to that effect.
Okay, fine. I really thought other officers was doing this kind of stuff too, but apparently it's just us.
Well, you saw the other officers. They were just arresting people willy-nilly. We can't be having that.
Yeah, but they didn't. Listen, they didn't ask us. We know.
Well, we're in charge.
That's right.
We're the bosses.
They need to listen.
Yeah.
Insubordination.
Yeah, and they are not doing a good job. It is.
Ain't no freaking
Yeah,
boat.
well-
No one's on a boat.
Who's better to handle that than us? We're gonna have to do this personally,
Fine.
and we're gonna have to take it personally.
Fine. Still vampire boy.
All right, let's go see if. Okay, well, let's go see if we can find more information about him.
I already forgot that vampire guy's name, but that's who it is. Trust me.
He didn't have a name.
Cordemelia family, Steve Boca, Sarah Lauman, and Mike Pepitone. These are just some names of victims that D'Antonio and Collins were able to connect directly to one single attacker. Despite being able to get fairly frequent descriptions of the criminal, the suspects they arrested were all released within days. It always turned out that the suspects were completely incapable of committing the crimes to which they were accused. For example, the Romano family saw a dark, heavy-set man. However, the entry point to the house would not even let in a small child, the locks never being undone, and no windows were unsealed. The Cordemelia family swore that they had somehow seen neighbor Giordano and his 18-year-old son, Frank. Giordano, a 69-year-old man, was in too poor of health to leave his chair. His son Frank, more than 6 feet tall and weighing over 200 pounds, would have been too large to have fit through the panel on the back door. Once again, only large enough to allow a cat to enter. The detectives were getting nowhere. If they didn't know better, they would swear they were dealing with some kind of shapeshifter or a spirit. It was then that the Axeman left the following note.
Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal. They have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the Angel of Death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse. Hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee, I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy. The Axeman.
No crimes took place that night. The music continued to play in New Orleans and even continues as a tradition to this day every year. Not long after the attacks petered out, the Axeman seemed satisfied. Detective John D'Antonio and Detective John J. Collins were praised for their work, though they never apprehended the Axemen. D'Antonio in particularly couldn't let the case go, and chased every thread he could of the killer for the rest of his life. He was convinced the Axeman was still out there and resurfaced every decade or so.
All right.
Takeaway number 1.
Right.
The vampire demon that I talked about at the beginning.
Yep.
He said he was a demon. Everyone knows that vampires are demon,
Oh,
vampire, one and the same.
Yeah.
Number 2, I always tell you
Right.
there's a ton of crap up in this brain. It's like a big, huge storage containment unit, okay? I hear stories,
Right.
and then I put it in a small container, and then, like as I said in the beginning of this thing, I'm like, man, this thing sounds familiar. I feel like I've heard this somewhere before. And then I think this was the case I was thinking of.
Right, because you were thinking it was, but you were thinking opera music.
Yeah, I was.
Which thankfully wasn't opera music, because it was really hard to find public domain nice jazz music for New Orleans.
For sure.
But yeah, so man, I want to do this in order. So let's start here. The weird thing was, and this a lot of people commented on this, especially once this letter came out, is that a lot of these cases, we sort of glazed over some of them, is people were accusing people that they knew, but also that they knew were incapable of doing the crimes, like the guy who couldn't get out of his chair and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some people speculated they were seeing something that was taking on familiar forms to them and attacking, something that was just like sort of whooshing into their house, taking on a form that they'd seen, attacking them and then leaving. So if you saw a big hulking guy, maybe that was something you were afraid of, or someone you had seen on the streets the day before. Or if you had passed by this creepy guy who's confined to his chair that sort of spooked you, that's who it would take. Like all that kind of stuff. And they had multiple people who saw, like, I'm using that guy as an example, the guy who was confined to a chair. There was 3 people in that family who saw him and his son, but neither of them could possibly have been there.
Yeah. I mean, I have a tough time with people in general with their recollection of what they see and what they don't see and what they hear. And because I think a lot of
people
times,
do convince each other of things.
Correct. That's the problem, is I feel like that happens all the time.
Yeah. I think the only thing that would sway me another way on that is just how it didn't just happen that one time. It had happened multiple times. Like the first, like the lady, we could just say she's a liar or she was struck in the head too many times. That's fine.
Yeah.
But people keep seeing people who it just can't be. And no one's getting, like, they're looking right at this guy and they still can't see anyone but someone they see. So they're wasting all kinds of police time. By the way, that guy called us stupid in that letter. I hope you noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed it. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah. No, me neither.
I bet he gets an axe in his backyard. Not from me.
Yeah. He'll get 2.
Not from either one of us.
That's right. But just try to imagine this in your head. Like, I know this is a horrible story and stuff, but the whole city of New Orleans, they brought people, wheeled them out in beds from the hospital to go to these jazz halls because it had to be a live band. That's what he was demanding. So they were wheeling people in beds from hospitals to these jazz halls. They were going through the streets, making sure everyone got out of their house and went to these. Elderly people were being carried by younger people. Imagine the whole city just going wild with jazz music. I guess that's sort of like what probably Mardi Gras is like.
Probably. Well, you know what it sounds like is the biblical story of Passover.
Right. I thought about that too. That it's, and doesn't his letter sound a lot like that too?
It does.
I'm going to be, what was his words? I'm going to be
passing over.
Flying over.
Or flying over some, yeah.
Yeah, passing over.
Yeah, Passover, passing
the
over.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
So
I'm
those were
saying.
his exact words, and he was in close call with the angel of death.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what
Yeah.
that sounds like to me. But instead
Yeah.
of spreading,
I wonder if there's some kind of
instead of putting blood over the doorway, it's jazz music.
yeah. Well, times have changed. There's more interesting stuff than sheep blood or whatever.
Exactly. Yearling blood. Ugh.
But I like trying to think about it like everywhere you go, it's just a wild party going on.
Right.
You see like grandma on a rocker just going, yeah, jazz.
Yeah, jazz. Come on. Get that banjo.
Yeah. And this guy was good to his word. That was it. That's all he wanted.
That's all I wanted.
He did that big thing.
Little jazz
But
music.
you, years after, in your retirement,
Mm-hmm.
you claimed he kept resurfacing every 10 years
Yeah.
or so.
He did. Every decade.
You wrote books on this and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I wasn't just
It's
trying
almost
to sell
like
them.
what's that? That you wouldn't do that.
I would never do
What's
that.
what's that Jeepers Creepers where
Oh,
he comes
yeah.
back every 22 years or something like that?
Well, Vecna, Stranger
Right.
Things.
Hmm.
It comes back.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
they say
true.
that came back every X amount of time frame too? I feel like
I think
Vecna did.
so. It's been like 40 years since the last season. I can't remember now.
I know. It's been too long. They're going to
Yeah.
be grandparents by the
Like-
time the next one comes out.
I know, like all those kids with the big floofy haircuts are going to be balding and
Exactly. They're going to
smoking big stogies and saying, "I remember when this."
they're going to have raspy voices from all the liquor and
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
11's
On
going to
the
be like
fourth
89.
marriage. Yeah, she's not 11 anymore.
Not 11 no more. Oh,
Yeah,
But I
we
feel like
joke
that's
because
time
we
for us
love
too.
it, though.
oh, of course. We love us some Stranger Things. But that's the thing. I feel like there's
Yeah.
all kinds of these stories where something comes back every X amount of years or
Yeah,
something like that.
it's a popular thing because it doesn't make people feel safe.
exactly.
And I think the best stories are ones that you can imagine happening to yourself.
100%.
But I really like your Passover connection because I
Yeah.
never thought about that.
That's the
but,
first thing to pop in my head.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
that's
wonder if
eerie.
New Orleans was getting too wicked or something.
You knew the angel of death.
Yeah, that guy don't mess around.
Nope. Because the angel of
But
death,
I thought this was an interesting story.
he uses a what?
An axe,
But
a
kind of.
scythe,
A scythe, yeah. So very similar to an axe.
right? Yeah, yeah. I do wonder too. Were axes that prevalent? Does everyone in a city own an axe? Well, I guess
I don't know.
they must have.
I mean, everyone
It's
who
weird too. Like
got whacked did.
yeah, it's weird too because he goes in there with no weapon whatsoever.
He doesn't need one. Everyone's got a freaking axe and a straight
He
razor.
doesn't- Everyone's got them.
Exactly.
But I mean, he totally could because he uses a chisel to make a little hole.
yeah.
He could just take the chisel with him. Like those things are dangerous. But he just goes in, he does his business. He's in there a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Like it seems like he's not just some average everyday Joe,
No, he's a vampire. Vampire demon.
but
Vampire
yeah.
demon slayer.
he's a vampire, demon, spirit,
That's right.
angel, devil.
That's right.
But yeah,
Case
I've always
solved.
found that an interesting story, and I like digging into it. Yeah, it's a vampire.
Vampire demon slayer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like these
So,
kind of
what
stories.
did you think? Did we keep? Yeah, did we keep the violence to a minimum? It wasn't too gory, I don't think.
Nah, I mean, I think it's fine.
It could have been.
It could have been really gory if we wanted to be.
Would you like me to use the exact words for the crime scene?
Yeah, why not?
No, I can't. It's gruesome. I was hoping you'd call. I was hoping you wouldn't call my bluff on
I always
that. I
call
was hoping
bluffs,
you'd be like, no.
Because I got a censor.
Don't do
I got
it,
a
don't
censor
do
button.
it.
I can do whatever I want, Nick.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But it was pretty gruesome.
Crazy.
But it was mass panic. And The interesting thing too is they still every year supposedly do this around that time to keep up the tradition. And I don't know much about the history of jazz in New Orleans, but when I think of New Orleans, I think of jazz, and I wonder if that's got any kind of bearing on it whatsoever.
I'm super curious where I've heard this story before, because clearly I've heard it somewhere. It's just tucked in the back of my head somewhere. Has to be a long
you
time
definitely
ago.
have, because you definitely read or heard the letter somewhere.
Because to know that an entire town had to play some form of music, for some reason I thought it was opera. That's a very it's a very odd thing to remember.
Now I'm kind of curious if that's ever happened anywhere else before.
That's what I'm curious about.
Maybe it was opera.
I wonder if there's two different I don't know. Now you got me curious. I mean, while we're sitting
that would
here,
be if there was another one that was like that, I'd have to draw a connection between these two cases.
oh, for sure.
And this would become a real big story. I don't know, for good or for bad.
We're about to find out. Let me look here. Here's something.
Oh, this could be promising.
This is a play where that's the case, but I don't
What's it
see where
called?
it's based on something. The Metropolitan Opera Murderers. So that's kind of
Doesn't
along
sound
the
familiar.
line, but I think that's just maybe like a concept based on it. It's not a true thing. I don't think so. I think I probably just screwed up the genre of music.
No, it could be. I thought we were on the verge of an
epiphany.
huge discovery there for a second. Yeah,
he's about
that
to,
would have been like our national parks thing.
exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's the only
Which,
thing.
by
I
the
see
way, on
is
the
jazz.
national parks thing, I don't think we've hit that for a while.
We haven't.
We've sort of like done different cases,
Well, coincidentally,
but we'll have to get.
for the next one that I do, I was going to go through some of these magazines Mom and Dad gave me from forever ago.
Oh yeah,
And I was going to pull something out of one of them.
I'd like to do that. I think that'd be fun.
I want to do it because I want to do it on a case I don't know anything about, and I want to research.
Right. Do you
And there's
remember
still-
when, maybe it was only in Canada, but on TV they had the Time Life Mystery series
Oh, yeah,
that they kept showing?
for sure.
Man, that was so spooky. I wanted those so bad.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, that's
Imagine
the
how
thing.
weird I'd be if I would have got them.
I had this one out so I could look at this one because it's
Fate.
ghosts and haunted places.
Oh, that's perfect for your show.
Yeah, I left that one out, but I got another one, and I can't show you what it says because I thought about doing it for this.
Oh.
But look, it's
Are
got
they in the snow?
yeah.
Wait, is this a Sam Squanch?
Nope. Nope.
Oh, okay.
But I had that one on top because I'm like, you know what? We might check that out. We've got a few of them. There's some interesting ones.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah,
what I'm
I
going to do for the
love.
next
I
one.
wish there was. I guess magazines aren't really as much of a thing nowadays, are they?
Not really. I mean, you can find them in the stores, but they're very what's the word I'm looking for? Misrepresented in the literature categories.
Yeah.
I did
I know
say,
when I was a kid, they used to have just sections upon sections of them.
oh, for sure. I did see that there's Mad Magazine is still out. I didn't even know that. I saw that the other day.
Oh. There used to be one called Cracked as well. You remember that? They were
Yes.
like competitive to Mad.
Yeah. When it came to the two, I liked Mad just a little bit better, but Cracked was still good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's like Nintendo and Sega. I like Crack better.
Yeah.
Cracked, not Crack. I don't like. Oh boy, I wish I
Nick
hadn't
likes
said that.
crack. We heard it here first, folks.
No.
That's his favorite.
That was a big mistake.
That's a favorite.
That was a big mistake. I'm definitely going to hear about this.
Definitely don't send us no crack in the mail, okay? For Christmas.
No.
Don't do
Please
that.
Don't. Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, it's super funny. There was I think it was Cracked that had where you folded the pages and you had two different images.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They like to do that a lot.
Yeah. I remember having
That's
a
funny.
few of those too. My parents let me have both of those.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom and Dad. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. That's really nice.
That's
I
really
used
nice.
to get Fangoria magazine.
Oh, I knew of
You
them.
know
I
that
didn't
magazine?
get them. That doesn't surprise me. what you
Horror
know.
magazine. I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that stuff.
I think my dad let me get away with a lot of that stuff. I think
Oh, yeah.
my mom was probably like, "What is that?" My dad's like, "That'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Listen, it's fine."
He helped you become the podcaster you are
He
today.
did. Listen,
If you weren't able to get that stuff, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
that is very true. Thank you, Dad. My dad has contributed to
Yeah. Thanks,
this
Dan.
stuff. Is the best way I'll put it.
Yeah. Well, we always talk. We talk a lot about your mom, and we thank your mom a lot, but we got to thank your dad too.
Gotta thank Dad.
That's important.
We just had Father's Day.
Yep. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Happy belated Deceptive Reality Podcast dads out there.
Yeah. This was the Father's Day episode, in case you couldn't tell.
Yep, it's coming about a month
No,
late. It's
not
fine.
really.
Because by the
Yeah, a
time this
month
gets
late,
released,
it's
it's going to be like a month later. But it is officially June 20th when we're recording this. So
Yeah. So not far off.
we need more two-parters, Nick. That's what we need. Because
I know.
our hopper's
I
almost
know.
empty. We're catching up.
We kept getting a lot of crap for that though. We were like, people were like, "Oh, we don't like the two-parters," and then we stopped, and we were like, "Man, I wish there was some two-parters."
Wish there's some two-parters. Confirmed.
Yeah, yeah. We can't win. We can't win.
Well, let me ask y'all out there in podcast land. Do you think this axe murder, do you think is a vampire, vampire axe murdering demon slayer? Say that 10 times real quick.
Yeah,
That's my epiphany.
I think he's a shape-shifting spirit, but that could be the same thing.
Also, remember on our website, we have the capability now to where you can submit a story. So if you've got your own story or you want to hear a specific story, make sure you go to our website. Also, wherever you're listening to our podcast, make sure you hit that little thumbs up button. Make sure you tell your friends. That's how we continue to grow. Without your continued support in that category, we're screwed. We can't make big moves. Sorry.
That's right. We need the help.
We need to help. But we definitely appreciate
Yeah.
everyone who stopped by. This is a fun episode, Nick. Thanks so much for doing it. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought so. I like the role playing that we did there. That's
Role
fun.
playing's always fun.
I like that. I'm
We should
a
role play.
Yeah, I'm a D&D nerd, so I like
Yeah.
doing that.
I wasn't allowed to do D&D because there's demons in that and stuff. And, you know, you go to
Yeah, it's
HE double hockey sticks, you know.
yeah, it's demonic, which is why I'm into it.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. 100%. Well, until we see y'all on the next podcast, thanks for being here. Goodbye.
Demonic goodbye.